Cullen goes live in 2 minutes. Lynn Cullen live in 1 minute. Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com.
All right, Tom has been working on his vocal
ululations.
Yes. And I've attempted to clear my throat enough times that I won't have to do it in your ears.
It sounds like cancer ward here,
oh,
ladies and
awful.
gentlemen.
Yeah, because you sound a little plugged up. I sound a little plugged up, and we're blaming it on the weather.
It is the malaise of mucus.
Jeez. Well, where do you go from mucus? Only downhill.
Only downhill, yes,
all
exactly.
Right. Hello there. It's the 17th of January. Ooh! And I remember this because I wrote it down on my calendar at home. Somewhere I saw that today is, you will not believe this, Gun Appreciation Day.
I was saying to Lynn, I just was in Los Angeles for a week, and coming back, there was a perfectly pleasant man. We chatted a tad bit, and then we sort of got off to our own space, and then I saw him reading this very large magazine selling arms, and I kept looking at him, and then I thought, should I say something? But then I thought I couldn't get up out of my seat, so we might get to fisticuffs. So, but oh, how fabulous. National Gun Appreciation Day.
But it surprised you because you saw him as a certain kind of person.
Well, he didn't have a flak jacket on.
That's right. He was,
or one of those quilted things.
So you see, you have a certain assumption.
Yes, that's true.
About who owns guns.
But he was looking almost in a very lurid, quasi-sexual way at the gun. I mean, it wasn't like, oh, here's this gun, here's that gun. But, the fine-tuning details of its
I see. So you heard heavy breathing next to you. And then you thought, gee, he must be looking at some, porn or something. And you looked over and instead saw
F-61 or whatever.
Bushmasters, ladies and gentlemen.
I only knew Winchester, but that was in the West, I guess.
No, you know more than that.
What else?
Smith & Wesson.
Oh, that's right. Chevrolet. No, that's right. Yes, Smith & Wesson, that's right.
Okay, but this assumption that those of us who don't get guns have about who
True.
does.
I mean, he wasn't wearing Isemiyaki, but then I suppose those Japanese like guns too. So
okay, so this
brings us. He didn't look like a woodsman hick.
Yeah, well, what I'm saying.
No, that's what you're saying. Yeah.
Yes, exactly right. So that brings us to one of your favorite emailers to the show.
Oh yes,
Ray from Lawrenceville, who has written an email longer than most, but obviously put a lot of thought into it. And since Ray has already evidenced himself as an articulate,
very much so,
gentleman, and having read what he wrote rather quickly, minutes ago, I think this would be a great jumping off point to talk about, of course, the big topic of gun control.
Yes. Oh, just before you start reading, because when I was, away and wasn't looking at the papers so consistently, has
the president made his speech yesterday?
Oh, he did? Okay. What did he say?
Well, what do you mean? Because you're in Los Angeles,
I wasn't reading the paper.
Read a newspaper?
No, but I wasn't.
You don't have access to a...
Oh, pardonnez-moi.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was... that worked 20 years ago. I was out of town. I couldn't possibly know anything that was going on.
I didn't say that.
Well,
I just said I wasn't reading the newspaper as regularly as I normally do in my own...
All right, okay.
Environment.
But
I knew it was coming up.
But here's what I want to say. It is true. We have lost the ability to plead ignorance because
that's true. It surrounds us
somewhere else. And it's true. You do.
No. But when you're just sort of passing and you hear something, it's not. Because I said I knew it was coming today or tomorrow, whatever. But I didn't know that he had already made it.
Well, I'm saying this because
Biden put together,
I'm saying this because sometimes I'll get an email. It requires me to respond. I'm not sure what to say, and so I pretend I didn't see it for a while, and then eventually I get back to it, and then I feel like I've got to make some kind of an excuse for why I didn't.
Well, no, you're not going to make.
So I say sometimes, I was away for the weekend, and I'm thinking,
shooting.
So what?
Yeah, right.
What are you away for the weekend?
Los Angeles, because this on Sunday they did the Golden Globes.
Yes.
My God, that was. Like Biden and whatever's on the 10th page.
Well, that's true.
It was just pages and pages of this one and that one. So it's interesting that sometimes it's not.
Gotcha. Anyway, so he gave his thing yesterday.
All right. What did he say? Was it really strong or did it have...
Google it.
Oh, all right. Well, you can't condense...
It's on the front page of the paper.
Is it? Let's see.
He said...
But I didn't read the paper
Here. This will give you a nice little complication. Right there, that paragraph. Read
that paragraph.
Okay, meanwhile, I'll read Ray's thing. Sorry. Jess is looking at me like I'm a...
Virago.
That's a good one. I was going to say Harridan.
No, well, Virago is good. Harridan's not.
A Virago
is
good?
Yes, there's a woman with like intense, clear ideas and thoughts.
Oh,
yes.
And a Harridan is the same, only it's got a negative connotation.
No, Harridan is like Balabusta or shrew or hag or...
Nag.
I've never heard Harridan in a good way.
Think of all these negative words for women.
Yes.
Think scold.
A scold. That's so English.
Well, I've often said when people say, "What do you do for a living?" I say I'm a public scold.
No, that's nice. I like that.
Yeah. Okay, so back to Ray's extremely provocative and educational email. Okay, listen up. Lynn, I have been close to calling in the past few days, but I'm a little self-conscious about being on the radio. It's this gun control legislation talk that has me wanting to express my deep conviction that we are going down the wrong path, as usual, with our so-called solutions. I own a couple of pistols. You don't hear people say pistol anymore, do you?
No, but it's very. You know what a pistol is.
Do you know what? You don't know what a pistol is.
I know it's different from a rifle, honey bun.
What?
Wow.
Is a pistol synonymous with gun?
I think so.
Or can
it's
gun...
It's a type of gun.
Some guns look like something you would call a rifle. No?
Well, but they're not a pistol.
Here's the thing. Both Tom and I know nothing about guns.
I think gun would be the most generic of words.
All right, okay.
All right?
Anyway, we will stop...
bickering.
No, that we won't. But we will. I will stop interrupting Ray.
Because we're talking about something we know nothing about.
Yes, that's right. It's just that I got hung up on pistols.
Yes, all right.
Okay, pistols and stamens.
Oh, I knew that's where you were going.
You did?
Yes. I wasn't going to let you go there. Get to it.
I own a couple of pistols and also have a concealed carry permit. But I agree completely with the goals of reducing gun ownership and eliminating gun violence. But there is no way I can understand the logic of legislating gun prohibition as a step to accomplishing these goals. It hasn't worked with any prohibition to date, so why do we think it will work with guns? I encourage everyone to take the time to Google homemade assault guns or homemade high-capacity magazines. And most especially, he invites us to Google 3D printing of weapons.
Whatever that means.
I can't imagine. I tell you, Lynn, with 100% certainty, if you give me $200 worth of available materials and 3 days in my shop, I'll have a functioning semi-auto that will kill as well as a store-bought. It won't work for long, but long enough. It won't be as elegant, but I'm not looking for beauty. It will do what a lunatic wants. Shoot bullets. Kill.
Oops.
Okay. I tell my fellow liberal friends that they are trying to outlaw a technology that seems insurmountable to them, but is in fact a very, very simple technology. It's like outlawing bows and high-capacity quivers. I'll get a branch, some catgut, and a bag of arrows. We are on the verge of a maelstrom of unintended consequences. We are stirring the pot of crazies, and they will only get worse. They will create an underground manufacturing system, and all we will be left with is another costly bureaucracy that accomplishes nothing but the occasional prosecution of the unlucky or stupid. Oh, he's arguing this is as dumb as the war on drugs.
Or prohibition of alcohol.
Alcohol, same thing. What we need to do is what we have done successfully with smoking, drunk driving, and sexual harassment. Change hearts and minds. But the problem is the government telling us not to be afraid of everything, not to be paranoid, and to stop arming ourselves with unneeded weapons is like the 400-pound doctor with a cigarette hanging from his mouth waddling into the exam room to tell us to watch what we eat and stop smoking. Mm-hmm. Our whole government is an overarmed, paranoid police force. Every shithole town across this country has a military-type anti-terrorist SWAT response team. There are towns with tanks. I walked from Arsenal Park to Susie Kim's when the G20 was in town. And what I saw was what has these gun nuts wound up. A crazy military police state.
You know, people still make a
well, that is
talk
true.
about
That is true.
The G20.
It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable. A crazy military police state that is afraid of the citizens and willing to keep them in line. The image of our police and military was enough to make me understand some of the crazy rhetoric. Everybody, he says in caps, has to put the guns down and relax. Then the crazy ones will stand out, and we can point to them and say, see, that's crazy, and we don't want to be like them. The image of a camo-wearing, gun-toting man will not be one of a brave patriot and will become one of a scary lunatic. Sorry, this is so long. I probably would have made more sense if I'd called. Well, that makes a great deal of sense, and it was very provocative and unsettling.
Well, no,
because if you're saying prohibition just doesn't work, and
number one, and
the
tinkerer. If you're a tinkerer and you get these things on the web, and
you'll just send it underground, they'll make weapons.
And his point is, you don't need someone to shoot 1,000 people. Just the 14. Well, it was very funny. There was it probably didn't appear here, but on the weekend, I think, or Friday, I can't remember, there was a shooting again in a school in somewhere just outside of Los Angeles, and it was a kid who lived right across from the school, and he was bullied, and he walked across and said, "Lynn Cullen, stand up," and pow, and then he said, Tom Sokolowski, and that person scurried under the desk, and the teacher
just
talked him down.
Yeah.
But just I mean, another thing is, but just the level of frustration. I mean, I don't think all these kids necessarily are brain damaged, but if they go into school and they're just frightened, and some of this hazing, which would be bullying in the lesser form, or maybe not, these kids are just petrified, whether they're gay or they're fat or they're pimply, or the girl has too small breasts or too big breasts, or whatever, and they're being thrown against their lockers and beaten up. I mean, I'm not surprised that they want to take people out.
All right, but I want to talk more about what Ray says, is that we have to change the hearts and minds.
Yes, sure.
That sounds awfully difficult. On the other hand, who would have thought that you could take the country from a nation of smokers
exactly
to a nation where smokers are now looked at as, lepers?
Oh, in L.A.,
and very quickly.
A friend who's a lawyer, he went out into his very lovely yard and was smoking. He said, "Oh, this is illegal." I said, "What are you talking about? It's your house. You're not able to smoke in the open air in L.A., technically." He said it's against the law, but it's a law or what have you. I thought that was hilarious. But it's interesting what you say, because the hotel where I was staying is where, I can't remember the name of the Russian, Aeroflot. And they came in and they just had cartons of cigarettes, which are a lot cheaper.
Because the Russians are still smoking up a storm.
And I guess they're much cheaper
because
here.
they're unhappy.
When you're unhappy, smoke.
Oh, okay. Diane wants to know, where are the Catholic bishops now? They have so many opinions when it comes to sex, women, contraception, abortion, gay marriage, but now they're speechless when it comes to gun violence.
And Jesus never was packing.
Maybe there's not enough women and gays involved. Well, Diane, okay, but I mean, my guess is that when the Catholic bishops do come out with any statement on gun violence, it'll be on the right side. That's my guess. I mean, I don't know, and I would imagine.
Yeah,
I mean, really.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to jump on them about that. But Ray, I'd sure.
You started about smoking. No, it's true when you think about it.
Well, I mean, I'm just thinking about changing the hearts and minds. How? Okay, so he's saying it's not helpful for me. Right. To be squawking about gun fetishists and you saying I was going to confront this guy sitting next to me. That we've all got to, as he said, put the guns down, step back, and rethink this.
Yes,
and
exactly.
And that my understanding is that he's saying people like him, who have guns, and even concealed carry permits, would join with the likes of us. In wanting to cull, to sort of get the loons isolated.
No, I understand.
And consequently, you lose that lunacy that has been feeding the NRA of late, that the NRA helped create, too. But he's so right about how, if you think you have that mindset about government historically can be an oppressor of people. And even though our country is based on all these freedoms and principles, who says our government can't turn into some lunatic?
But the only thing is
and then think of what you saw at the G20. Think of what you saw.
But I think what I brought up is connected, because I think unless we were living in a place where we felt safe, we felt that even though there were people who would disagree with us and look different from us and smell different from us because of what they eat, etc., say, well, Mrs. So-and-so smells a little funny, but she's a good old gal. I think all of that leads into, if we weren't in this batch of paranoia and fear of robbers or people just different from us who are going to, persecute us or pogrom or what have you, it all feeds into it.
Well, yeah, but I mean, that kind of thing just paralyzes you when you start thinking the culture celebrates violence in
yes, right.
I mean, in so many ways, it's mind-blowing. But I don't know. I don't know, but I think it's, it's really good email, a provocative one, and fills me with unhappiness, because those of us who think that you can get somewhere by... Well, I'll tell you this. I mean, Ray says that you can build a semi-automatic pretty easily. But I don't think you can build bullets as easily, can you?
Well, but you can always put something like buckshot in them, and that can do a terrible amount of damage.
Well, it can't, not like an armor.
Well, no, but it can.
Bullet, but I'm saying, does it make sense to make bullets less available? Doesn't it make sense to take
wasn't there a temporary thing? It was in the state, I don't think it was federal, where for a few years some state either raised the prices horrendously.
I don't know.
Or there was something, yeah.
Well, see, that's absurd, too, because any state, again, if your state
you go across
does
the
that,
border,
then fine, go to Ohio, go to West Virginia.
Right.
I mean, this has to have the laws have to be federal.
Yeah, exactly.
We already have sheriffs in all around the country informing the vice president that they will not enforce any laws that the sheriff deems.
Oh, how lovely.
So you already have this...
oh, God.
I find it... whatever.
So law enforcement's going to break the laws that they don't like.
Yeah, I'm trying to...
offensive to the nth degree. Well, one thing, when you were talking about changing the sort of sea change, I just wonder, now that we have 2 states who voted to legalize marijuana, I just wonder how long it's going to be that becomes either a preponderance of the state and then a federal law. And then, that's not going to be an issue anymore.
Well, I think with given demographics, I think that, yes, marijuana will be, I think it'll have a similar arc to gay marriage that seems so impossible, and now...
Well, but I would think more like prohibition, I mean, anti-prohibition, where you had all of that for 10 years, and it allowed...
No, I don't think it'll go that
crime.
fast, because it's going to be slow, and then it's going to...
well, or having a black president. I mean, change does happen. Who would have thought?
Yeah.
And now does one even think of it, although some people do.
Well, I don't know if we're going to... I mean... I'm so repelled by the cowardice of politicians fearful of losing their jobs because of the NRA. And, all you have to do is look at Harry Reid, who's our Democratic, head of the Senate, and he's pro-gun. And he's making all kinds of, grumbling noises that he's not going to be passing anything if the House is simply not going to pass it. And he doesn't think the House will pass anything, so why should he pass anything? And this is the president's own party. I don't know. I don't know. The president was pleading yesterday. He was saying, essentially, to do this through Congress is going to be extremely hard, if not impossible. The only way that the president says we can get any movement, legislative movement, is if people who want to start turning this around contact their representatives. It's the only way. Representatives on the receiving end of enough emails and or letters, even representatives who get thousands from the NRA, there'll be a certain tipping point
people have told me
which...
They don't read them, they just count them.
Right, there'll be a simple tipping point. So any of you who feel strongly about this, you have got, how difficult is it? You've got to write your representative.
Well,
now, especially in southwestern Pennsylvania, because this is gun lover country.
Well, and I'm sure there are some places where you don't even have to write. You can go online and you click it, and it sends it with your name.
Maybe, but you need to be writing Doyle. You need to be writing Murphy. You need to be writing the revolting Keith Rothfuss, who You need to, and you can say, oh, why should I do Rothfuss? That ain't going to change his mind. Everybody, whether you've got a Democrat who you think is on your side or a Republican who you figure is intransigent, you got to do it. I mean, when the president calls on us, he says, it ain't going to happen unless you have my back. Have his back, even if it's, as Ray tells us, all wrong-headed. Go ahead, please.
How you doing today?
Fine, thank you.
I think it's too late for everything. I think put a fork in us, we're done. This country is screwed when it comes to jobs, guns, it don't matter. They've got it so screwed up, I don't think you can change it. So I'm a 55-year-old man. I'm going to go jump in the lake. See you later. Goodbye.
That was a cheery little...
Well, he's known for his cheery little...
Oh, you know that man's voice?
I love him.
Oh, I see.
He calls and delivers very quick. He's a great... That's a fantastic caller. He has a persona. Yes. He chimes in on all kinds of subjects in a concise manner, and usually ends on such a down note that he raises... that we all laugh. And so he's a... Okay. But in regard to what the caller just said... You can't throw in the towel like that because Americans have since day one been saying this country's going to hell in a handbasket.
Sure.
And it has looked like that since day one, too.
Of course,
I mean, it's just because it's made up of people and institutions which are, fallible, to say the least, because they're made up of
people.
And so you just have to keep pushing and hoping that
as there was
forward.
for civil rights, maybe there needs to be a march on Washington.
I mean,
stop and think. Visible.
Yeah, stop and think if you were, it's 1840 and you're an abolitionist.
Yeah,
I mean, you could have said there's no chance here.
True,
I mean, everything's written against, and see, there was. So,
but also, have one seen the film, and this part presumably is correct. Look at all of the maneuvering and paying off to get the votes.
Because that's how
it's done. But that's what's going to have to happen here too.
Okay, but here's what's interesting. There are a lot of Americans now who, like the caller, are just assuming that this country is on the way out, that we're down and out, gone. But there was an interesting poll taken recently, and I happen to have it here, that the vast majority of Americans who think the country is finished are Republicans. 74% of registered Republicans say the country's best days are behind us. Now, that's a defeatist attitude that you can see playing out in their policies.
So they're forgetting gone because someone's coming after you.
I guess. I mean, that would feed a lot of paranoia. They are, and they think the country's done because the country has not seen fit to elect their candidate president.
Well, even
That's
more
a
than
big
that,
thing,
the country no longer looks like
them. So they think it's over. Anyway, 69% of Democrats, on the other hand, almost as many as the Republicans say are going down, 69% of Democrats say the country's best days are
ahead of it.
Now, this is a thing I learned from Ronald Reagan when he was a candidate, because he was such a good candidate. You win by exuding optimism.
Keep your sunny side up.
Sunny side up. You win by saying it's morning in America. It is not night. You win by having a sense that we are a people that, despite all our troubles, will keep moving forward.
No one wants a sad sack. I mean,
that's right, and that's what the Republicans have become, sad sacks. They used to know that. That's why they laughed at us when we ran somebody like a John Kerry or really people who just seemed always to be or even Al Gore. The sky is falling. Right? I mean, this is what happens.
True.
What Democrat wins? The guy whose motto is simply hope, something positive.
Right.
So they've forgotten the very lesson that their great leader, Ronald Reagan, who they've abandoned totally in every way.
And remember when he was God.
Well, they still think he is, but it's like Christians who worship Jesus but don't listen to anything he ever said. Well,
but the other interesting thing about that was, Reagan's politics were a very different sort of republicanism. But also one has to remember he was an actor.
Yes,
and
he was very good.
And I don't even mean that in a bad way.
No.
But when you give a speech, you just whatever. You communicate, and you do keep your sunny side up, and you have these great memorable things. But I think what it is with Republicans. It's the fact of they know. I mean, gun things will go on, and we'll be probably dead before something major happens. I hope not, but that's what I bet. But they know that the barn door has now been open for too long to return America to what it once was. And they just see that and just Schreigewaltung, that Yiddish word.
What? No, you know more Yiddish than I do. Schreigewaltung, Schrei is screaming.
Yeah, it's like, But that's it. It's like, oh, what was me, what was me, what was me. Oh, if only the golden days of what was me, Enough already, Genugapisht, another great Yiddish word.
Now, what does that mean?
Well, enough already.
Say it again?
Genugapisht.
You think Genugapisht?
Yeah.
I love that language. Is that not the greatest sounding language in the world?
Yeah.
Because everything is.
But that's it.
The entire language is
there's no way of ever going back, and yet they can't, in their bones, change just a smidgen. They just can't.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'm going to take a.
She's going to Cancun.
I'm going to take a quick break, and Tom and I will return in a moment.
More is on the way with Lynn Cullen Live.
Lynn Cullen Live and Panera Bread celebrate the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King.
On January 3rd, 1964, Time magazine named Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Man of the Year. Later that year, King was nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize and received an honorary degree from Yale University for eloquence that has kindled the nation's sense of outrage. On July 2nd, 1964, President Johnson signed the Civil Rights Act into law. King applauded the bill as an act of good faith, but for many black Americans, freedom was coming too slowly.
Countdown to King, brought to you by Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield. Have a greater hand in your health, and Lynn Cullen Live.
Today, My Care Navigator forwarded my medical records and freed my mind for other things.
Introducing My Care Navigator, your 24/7 healthcare co-pilot, new from Highmark.
My Care Navigator found me the ideal specialist. Less work for me.
My Care Navigator makes it easier to navigate the system. Call 1-888-BLUE-428 to connect with yours today. Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield is an independent licensee of the Blue Cross and Blue Shield Association.
You're listening to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Once again, here's Lynn Cullen.
Print it out for me. Okay. Print it out if you can.
I can't.
Oh, okay. Hello there. I was just talking to Jess, and we'll leave that for a second because
we don't know anything about it.
Well, I just started. Everybody's yapping today about the Notre Dame football player who almost won the Heisman. I guess he came in second. Who had a lot of sympathy because his girlfriend.
I can email it to you.
Okay, his girlfriend died in a car accident and blah blah blah. Now it turns out she doesn't exist, never did. And he was on the front cover of Sports Illustrated. He was on the front of, this guy has had so much media, and everyone bought into.
They never saw him with her? Or?
No one's ever, and he says now, and Notre Dame is standing with him, that she was a hoax perpetrated on him. That he fell in love with her, even though they had never physically met.
Oh, it was a romance.
That it wasn't an internet thing. And then she dies in a car crash.
So bizarre.
Now, none of this makes any sense. I'm sorry. So then it's just a big mystery that everybody's talking about.
Was it Ohio? No, Florida, who said that Sandy Hook didn't happen.
Well, but that's... come on.
Well, but as Anderson Cooper said, I wouldn't bring this up, but this is a tenured professor at a public university. Guys, we're paying his salary, and he's saying...
Well, but anybody who says that is, Jesus.
One would hope. Well, no, I was going to say.
Okay.
Not that all professors are either moral or smart, but.
But this one's going to unfold. I feel so sorry for this kid because my assumption, something's up here that's not readily apparent, and yet Margaret has emailed that she can't talk now because she actually is working, but that she thinks that...
Which is not the norm, is it?
No. She thinks that,
sorry, Margaret.
that it'll have something to do with the fact that he's gay. And I saw somebody else on Twitter suggesting...
To create
a virtual
phony
girlfriend
who then gets killed, and you're so much in love with her, but you've never met her.
Wouldn't that...
Oh, it sounds like some kind of Victorian novel.
What I don't understand is how anyone in, again, this day and age would think that you could pass off... if you are somebody who's getting a lot of attention from reporters,
right.
How are you supposed to have this girlfriend who's dead? And what's interesting is now media is all over itself about this. No one asked for a death certificate. Nobody ever asked to see a picture of her. Nobody ever Googled
Oh, he didn't even see this was a passion without pictures? Oh, a sick person.
Who's the sick person? Him?
Him.
Unless... What would have been the possible reason to have this hoax about him? Okay, here.
A hoax about her.
I don't know if anybody even wants to talk about this.
Well, it is interesting.
So nobody knows what exactly it is.
A worthy source. I won't say, but...
That's why I picked the MSN one, too. But...
Okay.
Oh, there he is. Okay.
Okay.
All right, why don't you read this to us?
I don't know. Do we want to go all the way here?
Oh, it has lots of great words in it. So.
If, like many folks who have read Deadspin's startling story on Notre Dame linebacker Manti Te'o, your mind remains boggled over how the Heisman Trophy runner-up ended up having a fake girlfriend who died of leukemia. Now, I heard she died in a car crash. Oh, who knows?
Well, that's true.
It doesn't matter.
Her leukemia was so bad she couldn't step on the brake.
If true, it would be one of the most bizarre hoaxes ever. Throughout this season, the story of the death of Te'o's girlfriend, Lene Kekua, from leukemia in September had been central to Te'o's rising profile. So he was not only this amazing player, but he was suffering.
Yes.
It now appears that someone, possibly a friend of his, conjured the doomed fake girlfriend. Te'o quickly released a statement claiming he was the victim of an embarrassing hoax. What he thought was a romantic online relationship has turned into a sick joke. Oh, yeah, but the jokes have just begun. TV writer Michael Schur summed the situation up perfectly on Twitter. Thusly, Te'o really took the "my girlfriend lives in Canada" gambit to a whole new level. Saturday Night Live writer Seth Meyers urged restraint. These Te'o jokes are all very funny, but let's all try and remember that a person who never existed is dead.
But, the thing is, if it is at least quasi-true, I mean, yes, people have always written letters to, loved ones, whatever. But to take this, I mean, he's obviously a talented person. He has some brain. You can't be a good sports person and almost win the Heisman Trophy and not have a brain. And to become so infatuated with someone you've never seen.
Seems odd.
Well, it certainly pushes the limits of restraint and...
Well, but a lot of people have been writing about the fact that this entire generation does not... No one dates anymore, in case you didn't know that. There's no one in Jess's cohort who goes out on dates where you're picked... That's not true?
New York Times article.
Yeah. Well, you think the New York Times article was a bunch of crap?
Well, but I mean, what do you call it when you go to a movie?
Well, don't you just sort of like meet up with people all the time? Like my son always, I say, "Where are you going?" "I'm meeting up with."
But now meeting up with, does that mean?
To dates after.
Oh, but meeting up with though means like a group,
but
not one-on-one.
People meeting on the internet is again, it's common now. And then
fine,
to have
I
these
can see saying,
"Oh,
hi, Bobby, how are you today? It's cold in Pittsburgh." But I'm not going to be saying, "My heart is throbbing with my,"
Here's what doesn't work for me.
All right. Epidermal abrasion.
I don't even want to go there.
No, epidermal abrasion meaning like shaking hands or whatever. I mean, what did you think I was talking about?
I don't know.
Taking a cheese grater to my cheek?
I don't know what you were talking about.
Epidermal abrasion.
I thought you were talking about some kinky sex.
Oh, please, Lynn Cullen.
Okay, here's what
I'm saying is the human touch.
Okay, that's the human.
The human touch.
Here's what doesn't work for me: that he had this girlfriend that he never saw. Have you ever looked at him? He's gorgeous. He's gorgeous, and he's a football hero. Gorgeous football heroes don't need virtual girlfriends. They got
the only thing I will say, what is it that the old adage, like, you know, the most beautiful girl in the bar, the most handsome man, always go home alone because they're always waiting for the better deal?
I don't know. I've never been there.
No,
so
I would say,
don't know.
Sometimes I think I can believe the fact that someone, it's very safe. Because you can't be rejected, or you don't have the epidermal abrasion, and it's so easy to just sort of make it once. It's like sex in a plastic bag, you know. I suppose that's what a condom is, isn't it? But
okay, well,
hurts Notre Dame's reputation.
No,
he's
in. No, so. Well, I don't know, but he's in trouble. There's no way he's not part of this. No way he's not part of this and in on it. And it makes sense that if he had... It could be a cover for the fact that, in fact, he is gay. Okay, so that's a way of getting... Because he's a handsome football player, why isn't he ever with a girl? Because the girl he loves is somewhere else, and she's sick or she's dead. And so he's...
She's sick or in Canada. Oh, this is so ridiculous.
All right, okay. So listen,
America fucked up. I mean, really.
We're going to leave it alone. If you think this is effed up, listen to this story.
Oh, you have another one. Good.
This is out of Ohio.
Oh, well then. Oh,
and this has to do with a teacher suing the school district. The teacher is suing because... Why can't I get my show's email up here? The teacher is suing because... She said she was discriminated against because she has a phobia, a severe phobia.
Yes.
And her phobia is a fear of young children. And there she was, Maria Walther Willard, age 61, teaching high school Spanish and French since 19... High school is not small children.
Right.
She was teaching from 1976 all the way up to 2009. She'd been in the school district for a long time, and she was doing just fine. And then the district transferred her to middle school. And in middle school, there are small enough kids that she was scared out of her mind.
Well, I have a friend who's scared of midgets. I was standing somewhere, and all of a sudden she shrieked, and she's not a shrieking person. And I said, "What's the matter?" And she said, "There's a midget over there." And I said, "Well, so what? They scare the living hell out of me."
Oh my God.
I said, "Well, you shouldn't. Good thing you never watched The Wizard of Oz." That's totally crazy.
Well, okay, so she said her blood pressure soared, she became ill, and she was forced to retire. And she says that her fear of children falls under the Americans with Disability Act, and that she should get her job back.
She should get a shrink.
Yeah.
Isn't that a piece of work? Okay, I'll tell you what. I'm going to take a break, and then I'm going to use the interim to try to find my email. I can't seem to locate it. Okay.
Maybe it went away of Manti Te'o's girlfriend.
Right.
He just went into the ozone layer.
Okay. I'm looking for it.
Stick around for more with Lynn Cullen Live after this.
Pittsburgh City Paper's annual winter guide is available now. Pick up one today for the best wintertime events in Western PA. Plus Gin Blossoms, Morrissey, and Chris Webby. Pittsburgh City Paper available at over 1,700 locations throughout Western Pennsylvania and on the web at pghcitypaper.com and on your smartphone at citypapermobile.com.
This is the sound of a flat-screen television hurled off a building. Now the new bike your kid wants. These are the things you could have all cast into oblivion. Because when you throw away money on wasted electricity, you throw away everything you could have bought with it. Use Energy Star light bulbs and appliances, and you could save hundreds of dollars a year. Saving energy saves you money. Learn more at EnergySavers.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Energy and the Ad Council.
Have a question or an opinion? Call Lynn Cullen at 412-316-3381 or email lynn@pghcitypaper.com. Now, more with Lynn Cullen Live.
I think you should try to get Manti Te'o to be on the show tomorrow.
Oh, I think the poor dear is...
in seclusion.
Yeah.
Even back in Samoa. Maybe Samoa doesn't exist. Maybe it's even more bizarre than that. You know, Samoans, one fact that I know about Samoans is they make the best drag queens in the world. I once attended in...
They make hell of great football
Oh, yeah,
players,
well, they're
too.
very big.
Yeah, well, so how would very big make drag queens?
I went to this thing that was called the Heart Ball that was in...
some den of iniquity.
No, in New Zealand.
Yeah.
And it was their biggest AIDS charity. These Samoan drag queens were unbelievable. They were like the size of football fields. And if you festoon them with glitter and that, and they sang in these bizarre... It was wild. I've never seen anything like that. And I've seen my range of drag
I bet
queens.
you.
But Samoans. So there's another fact for all of you to know about Samoa, especially to little children who scare that lady. They should add that to their facts. Samoans make good drag queens. Anyway, I'm just babbling on.
Okay. Well, speaking of...
babbling?
No, sports.
Oh, sports,
and
yes.
college sports in particular. There is this study that's come out, which is just... I mean, it's not... It's just... Here it is. Public universities, like Penn State... like University of Michigan, like
Notre Dame. Well, it's not a public university, but
Alabama.
nevertheless.
No, Notre Dame would not be in there. Public universities that compete in NCAA Division I sports.
Right.
We're talking about the the big guys. Spend 3 to 6 times as much on each athlete as they do on educating a student.
So new? You're surprised at that?
Exactly. But when you see the level of it, you see, and here's a time when all those universities are squawking and screaming that they don't have enough money, and that they've got to lay off teachers, and that the suffer, and now kids where they were sitting in a 100-person lecture are now sitting in a 350-person lecture, or they're online.
Back to epidermal abrasion.
But what is it with your epidural?
Well, I mean, proximity of a live person as opposed to...
Not epidural. What do you say?
Epidermal. Epidural. I'm not going to stick a needle in your back, honey.
Okay.
No, but I mean, think about it. Even though university presidents are paid nicely, they have big jobs, but they're paid nothing like these coaches are paid.
Okay, so
millions of dollars.
No. I know. The coaches at Pitt are paid more than Nordenberg, the chancellor.
Course.
Okay. So here... Institutions competing at the top tier of Division I, these are the teams that go to bowl games.
Right.
Okay? Right. The bowl subdivision, the report found, the median athletic spending per athlete by these taxpayer-supported schools was $92,000 per athlete.
Wow. But,
per student?
But let me stop
Per student?
But
less than 14,000. Well, let me get the 92,000 for the athlete.
And 14.
Less than 14,000 for a student.
Or something. No, but the point I want to make there, though, is yes, you can say public university is, but they can do that, pardonnez-moi, because the gifts that they get from the sports fans, alumni, are often directed monies. It's not necessarily it's monies that, Corbett's given to them or we're given to them, but it's because someone who loves sports has given $3 million a year to pay for all this stuff. So it goes back to them. It's like back to the gun laws. If lunatic people are more concerned with, that everyone has a gold-edged jockstrap than whether they have, copies of Encyclopedia Britannica, what do you have to do about it? I'm serious.
Okay.
I mean, I'm sure there's been predilection, but I mean, if there wasn't so much money being given by alumni to sports, this couldn't continue.
Okay. What I want to do is have you.
Yes.
I'm not going to engage you on that anymore. I want to move on. And I'm sorry I don't have this in color and can't.
Okay. Was this an art thing?
Yeah, it's art enough. It's Vogue magazine.
Yes, okay.
Paying tribute to the first responders of Hurricane Sandy.
Oh, okay.
All right. And what would that look like? Well, I'll tell you what it looks like. And you can't quite see it here.
So I'm going to opine on something I can't see.
But let me just read what on Slate. Is this what happens when Anna Wintour feels emotion?
Oh, dear. I don't think I've ever seen her smile, let alone show emotion.
I have seen her smile.
Oh, you have? Okay.
Paying tribute to the colossal destruction and devastation of Hurricane Sandy. The latest issue of Vogue features a high-fashion photo spread, quote, celebrating Sandy's first responders. The best, and photographing them with models wearing, quote, the best of the New York collections.
Yeah, that sounds weird.
Which the magazine winkingly dubs New York's other finest. And so you have pictures here of these, anorexic models. Yes. Walking that walk they do.
Voguing.
Yeah, in a crowd of
like people in
firefighters, first responders. And the photos ranged from the dramatic 3 models in flowing white dresses and stilettos posed on the edge of a speeding Coast Guard boat.
That is the sickest thing I've ever heard.
It is, isn't it? That's what I want. No, it is.
Well, it's like
it is. But she's supposed to be so friggin' smart.
Can't you see?
And the photos were taken by Annie Leibovitz. Wouldn't you think someone would have?
Well, she's desperate for money, so she'll do it.
Oh, I understand. Yeah, she is apparently desperate for money. But and they say here, Leibovitz, who managed to turn firefarters.
This is firefarty. Yes, thank you, Lynn. That was
the firefighters.
That was the best kind of faux pas.
Yeah, firefighters and
firefighters. That's almost that cartoon character.
Army reservists and Con Ed workers into props.
Jeez. Yeah, really.
Did Leibovitz not realize that the real non-model people in her lens were 20,000 times more captivating and alive than those models?
Homes. Some people still don't have heat and water. I mean, that is the most let them eat cake thing.
It is repulsive.
Repulsive, yes. You know, it reminds me in the 19th century at parties, they would say, after we're going to do tableau vivant. And people would sort of say, recreate paintings.
Right.
I mean, that is the most asinine thing I've ever heard.
It also reminds me of one of the most horrific things I thought, and I think this was in the early 80s, when there were so many homeless in New York, that all of a sudden, I don't know if it was Vogue or one of them, decided to start, well, it wouldn't have been Vogue. It's like certain designers were putting out clothes that were said to be like hobo chic, right? And so you work off of the, if you look at what are those, the Olsen sisters, one of them sort of dresses like that. You just dress.
Now, you're old enough to remember. Do you remember the episode on I Love Lucy? When Lucy and Ethel put on the horse blankets and the French designer sees it and creates a show? I haven't thought about that in 150 years.
Well,
but yeah, that is totally crazy. I remember at that same time, I was living in New York then, they had windows at Bloomingdale's and people, their avant-garde gowns and commodes and these models like with their heads on the commodes and blood on the gowns.
Yeah,
it was totally ridiculous.
Just repulsive. So Larry has sent the pictures. I'm sorry that I can't. You guys look them up.
Show Tom.
Show Tom the pictures.
Oh, here it is.
Okay. There's one.
Oh, that really is so revolting.
Isn't it? It is.
Well, no, it doesn't. Now it doesn't look as revolting. I thought they were really.
Okay,
You'd be like coming with blood dripping off of them. I suppose they
it
could
still
be
is.
walking anywhere,
Come on.
Yeah, it's just a way to sell dresses.
And the other.
I wonder if these guys were paid. The models were certainly paid a ton of money to do that. I wonder if Pacificus Moonshine is someone's name.
Here's some guy who sees it as exploiting tragedy to sell clothes.
Well, exactly.
Wow, this is just stupid. Lucky they weren't a third world disaster area. The models would have been taken for starving children.
Touche.
I imagine it goes like this. A Vogue model looking at distended stomach of an Ethiopian while posing for the camera. Wow, you're doing great everywhere else, but that beer belly has to go. Have you tried the Master Cleanse diet, little one? Okay, we've got a caller. Hello, caller.
Hi, guys. PJ
Hi.
from Greensburg.
Hi, PJ.
The most aggravating thing about this is it's not even original. I mean, as bad as it is, it's not even original. Like a week after Sandy, there was a big flap online because some photographer trying to break out and a model trying to break out went and did photo shoots on damaged cars, and there was a big...
Oh, was there?
Yeah,
well,
so
then
it's
what's
not
it?
even an original idea.
So, and did all hell break loose about them? And then Anna said, "Oh, that's a good idea." It's not like her to borrow from some, but
well, but she probably they were at no account. She was Anna Wintour.
Yeah,
but you know, it just. Well, I suppose they could have missed it. Yeah, they could have missed seeing that. But there was a pretty big flap about that.
I don't remember it myself. Okay, but
and in and around New York in particular, more than out here. That doesn't make any sense. It's not even an original idea. It's a bad idea, and it's not even an original bad idea.
Yeah, exactly.
All right,
thanks,
Thank
BJ.
you.
On all counts, it fails to pass muster. Okay, here's an odd thing that I came across yesterday. You know Dennis Kucinich?
Yeah, who just stepped down.
He didn't
he was not
step
reelected,
down. He
or
got
just
knocked
did his
off in a...
term.
No, he was one of those Democrats whose seat... With Republican gerrymandering.
Okay.
There were two districts that ended up... It was like Kritz and...
sure.
What's his name here? Altmaier having to run against each other. And he lost the seat. And so he's a former congressman now, and he needs a job. So who gave him a job? Fox News. Now,
so he's going to be the ploy to all these.
Yeah, but he ain't no ploy. It's not like you don't foil. I mean, you don't take him on and expect him to
just scream,
not be articulate or something, because he's very articulate. So they're taking. But here, I saw someone online had a very good idea of why they'd want Kucinich. You know why? Because he's way to the left of Obama, and so he'll be attacking.
Right.
What does Fox live for? To
attacking
attack
the president.
Right.
And here's someone who will
so
as well.
Here they'll have a liberal attacking Obama. That's what that is exactly it. Because I couldn't figure it at first either. Why would they want this articulate lefty
liberal guy?
on? They like him because he'll not like anything Obama's doing either. So. Fox News, Roger Ailes, smart cookie. Despicable cookie, but a smart cookie.
Really mean. I've read various things like mean.
Yeah.
Not even just mean-spirited, but just mean.
Just a mean person. Isn't that something? There, I've done it again. Okay, well, I feel like I'm just about out of...
Well, today we've been about sillinesses. From Te'o, whatever his name is, to the silly lady who's frightened the middle schoolers, to
well,
Sandy
no, we had
Chic.
a very serious... What?
Sandy Chic.
We had a very serious subject, and I have to tell you that Ray's email is haunting me. Because I want us to do something that makes sense. Okay, so I'm not going to say we don't still go after the legislative stuff, although he says that only makes more crazies, not fewer crazies. But I think there is no doubt that you have to go at this through hearts and minds.
Sure.
And I think we're getting a lot more hearts than we used to.
Well, maybe, but look at it. I mean, if 27 or 20, plus the adults, little children get, massacred. And that doesn't convulse the nation. I mean, it affected the nation, but it didn't convulse it.
No.
And all of these, now it's not just that one professor, I just heard last night, there are supposedly tons of people on the web. It's just like the Holocaust deniers. I mean, what more do you need? Do you want to have like the dead corpse in your hands?
Oh, speaking of Holocaust deniers, it was another funny thing. I didn't have it. So the president of Egypt, this video came out where he's saying, and, teach your children and your children's children and your children's children to hate the Jews. Yeah, and then he called them bloodsuckers and
children of apes and dogs.
And apes and pigs. Apes and pigs. Right. And then today in the paper, and I didn't get it, it said in the New York Times, Morsi clarifies remarks. And you know what?
I really meant bears and tigers.
I meant puppy dogs and kittens. I didn't. He said they were taken out of context.
Out of context.
So, and it said that there were these two visiting U.S. senators that were there, and I think one of them is McCain, and the other is some Democrat. White House.
I thought it was horrible.
No, who said to him, you have got, and he said, they were taken out of context, and it says that the senators were pleased with his clarification. There's what?
Well, the problem, McCain, we don't like those Jews.
I mean,
that Morsi is a real.
What does that mean? There are some things that I'm sorry, taken out of context just doesn't work. And
fuck you. No matter what the context is.
Like basic, and also the other aspect of it that he wanted to clarify. You were very clear the first time. You don't need to clarify it anymore. Oh dear God. Okay, that's it. Oh, and he said he had great respect for all monotheistic religions. So what does that mean? He
really likes Kreplach.
Yeah, right, but he doesn't like Hindu.
He doesn't.
Is not
too many arms.
Yeah, there are too many. So he's saying he doesn't respect the Hindus.
Oh, jeez, that man.
Yeah, well, what the hell? All right, that's it.
Bye.
Nice to have you back.
Thank
and
you.
Chris Potter tomorrow, because he didn't come yesterday, so we're going to do it tomorrow. That'll be fun, huh? See ya.
Bye.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper, Steel City Media, and its advertisers.